There are stories about villages that summoned him by chanting his name 3 times at midnight. They believe he gives them a vision of the creamscape. Maybe he thinks he's enlightening us, showing us the true power of dairy. Or maybe it's a cruel trick.
So he's either a cosmic dairy missionary or a reality-bending prankster. That's a lot to unpack. But there has to be more to his motives, right? What's really driving him?
To understand the Milky Man, you have to understand his worldview, which, as you might imagine, revolves around dairy. One theory is that he's driven by a quest for dairy supremacy. He seems to believe that dairy is the ultimate food, and anything else, especially plant-based alternatives, is inferior and needs to be eliminated.
So he's like a dairy-obsessed food snob waging war on almond milk.
That's one way to put it. There are stories about him pouring out cartons of plant-based milk, vandalizing vegan restaurants, leaving threatening notes written in curdled cheese. He's not a fan of alternatives.
That's actually kind of funny. But is it just about food, or is there something more going on psychologically?
That's where it gets interesting. Some sources say that beneath all the dairy-fueled rage, the Milky Man might actually be incredibly lonely. Think about it. He exists in this bizarre, isolated dimension, surrounded by sentient dairy and his own madness. Imagine the loneliness of the curdled, if you will.
So he's not just trying to turn the world into a giant cheese wheel, he's desperately seeking connection.
His attempts to drag people into the creamscape, to share this dairy-dominated reality, it could be a desperate attempt to connect with something, anything, outside of his own messed-up existence.
So those late-night cheese cravings, those could be cosmic booty calls from a lonely dairy entity.
That's one way to put it. But it adds another layer to his character. He's not just a one-dimensional villain. He's driven by powerful, albeit strange, motivations. And understanding those is key to understanding his ultimate goal.
All right, so we've got a lonely, dairy-obsessed entity with reality-bending powers and a taste for synchronized mooing. But what's the end game? What does he actually want? Does he just want everyone to join him for a giant cheese tasting in the creamscape?
Well, now we're getting into prophecy territory.
Yeah.
The sources mention this ancient prediction called the Rhine's Return. They say the Milky Man sees this as his destiny, his purpose.
The Rhine's Return, that sounds ominous. What's it all about?
According to the prophecy, the Milky Man will one day merge the creamscape with our reality, creating a single existence where dairy rules everything. Buildings made of cheese, rivers of milk, the air smelling like butter. It's terrifying if you're afraid of him, and a glorious vision if you've bought into his dairy-fueled madness.
So he's not just messing around. He wants to remake the world in his image, a world where everything is cheese and milk and butter sculptures.
That seems to be the goal. Everything he does, the reality spoiling, the mind control, it could all be steps towards fulfilling this prophecy.